What is your keeping up with the Joneses that you absolutely refuse to do? Injections of filler or Botox. I'm 31/F, and at that age where the pressure is real on social media and amongst my peers. I'm also middle class and could afford it. The influencers are constantly hitting my feed, making me feel bad about aging, and the aging has only just began. I'm literally so young still, but I just can't bring myself to cave. We really don't understand the long-term consequences, and I'm convinced it's a fad that will die out because these faces are starting to look morphed. Just fine lines for me, thanks.
I get where you're coming from. It's tough seeing the pressure to look a certain way online. I have a friend who felt the same and almost went for fillers. We talked about it, and she realized she was fine just as she was. It's interesting how much social media can mess with our heads. I guess it's good to take a step back and remember that aging is natural.
Embracing consumer culture. To be fair, there was about a decade when I was too poor to do that. Once my financial situation improved, I realized that none of that stuff would have made me happy. And now that I can afford to keep up, I have zero desire to. In that way, the poverty was useful, though I never want to be in that dire of a situation again.
It's interesting how financial struggles can shift your perspective. I had a similar phase where I wanted all the latest gadgets and trends. Once I had the means, I found those things weren't really fulfilling. It made me rethink what I actually value. It teaches you that material things don't equal happiness. Life experiences and meaningful connections matter way more than keeping up with what everyone else has.
I've never understood buying a home for the max amount you were approved for just because that's what you were approved for. We have friends that live in really nice houses but never go anywhere or do anything. My wife and I opted to buy a really nice but smaller house that was $275K less than what we were approved for. Now we go on nice vacations a couple times a year, go out to dinner often. We see plays, concerts, and do all kinds of things we couldn't do if we had bought a bigger house.
Sounds like you made a smart choice. It's easy to get caught up in the idea of a big house, but enjoying life matters more. Smaller homes can offer more flexibility and freedom. It's nice to prioritize experiences over just staying at home. Your friends might have nice houses, but having those adventures seems more fulfilling. You get to create memories, and that's what sticks with you in the end.
I'm a 39-year-old woman, and I haven't given a shit about makeup and clothes for over 2 decades. I can and do dress up nice for special events, but day to day, I'm happy in t-shirts and jeans, men's jeans, so I have pockets that are actually useful. I don't care if my pants optimize the shape of my butt or whatever. The last time I wore makeup was for my wedding 5 years ago. I keep my hair in a simple braid. Somehow, in a feat that baffles scientists the world over, I don't feel bad about my appearance. I genuinely don't care if other people think I'm pretty or not. My husband loves me, and so do my friends, and that's all that really matters.
That's pretty relatable. I have a friend who's the same way. She shows up to hangouts in comfy clothes, and that's just her style. When we hang out, it's all about chilling and good vibes, not looks. She's confident and doesn't stress about appearances. It's nice to see someone so comfortable in their own skin. At the end of the day, if your people love you, that's what counts.
Consumerism and any kind of social media trends, the designer bags, Stanley Cups, etc., there's just too much, and I haven't bought into a single thing. I don't think I've actually followed one TikTok trend. Maybe it's because I deleted TikTok / used it for maybe a solid 10 hours in the 8-9 years it's been popular, lol. I watch a lot of YouTube videos about trends on TikTok, and since it's being displayed in a critical way, maybe that's why I don't fall into the trends. I simply roll my eyes and think it's just all dumb materialism / consumerism / capitalism, and am cheap AF.
I get that. I've noticed trends come and go like clockwork. It's wild how people chase after the next big thing. I mostly stick to what I like too. Occasionally, I see a cool bag or gadget, but I'm not into following trends. I think it's easier to just do your own thing and not worry about what everyone else is buying. Feels more authentic that way.
I'm in upper middle class suburbia. It's insane the amount of money people spend on brand new vehicles. They either must be extremely wealthy or up to their eyeballs in debt. It's insane when you're trading in a 2-year-old GMC Yukon that you still owe $60,000 on and roll that into a loan on a new Yukon. These people are financing their cars for like 10 years to lower the monthly payment, but probably end up paying twice as much as the MSRP if they kept it the whole financing term. Some real dummies out there have a multi-thousand-dollar monthly car note on a Jeep Grand Cherokee or a Bronco.
It's wild to see how some people manage their finances. You can spot a lot of new cars around. Just trading in a 2-year-old vehicle and taking on more debt seems risky. Those long financing terms just end up costing way more in the end. Makes you wonder if they really think it through. It's a strange cycle, wanting the latest model but possibly drowning in payments.
I've worked with a lot of cars. I've got some opinions. It's crazy how digital everything is going. Even rear-view mirrors are now a camera projection. When you have a lot of gadgets and push-open storage compartments, you have a lot of things that will break and will need maintenance. You're better off buying a standard model Toyota or Honda with as little digital crap as possible. They'll run for forever, aren't anything fancy, and won't give you as many headaches. I've worked with 4-year-old Teslas that are complete garbage. Panels falling off the interior and worn down leather on the steering wheel that looks 20 years old. These new cars that cost a fortune are garbage.
I get where you're coming from. I've seen high-tech cars become more trouble than they're worth. A friend had a new model that was supposed to be cutting edge, but constant software updates and issues were a pain. In contrast, his old Civic just kept running. Sometimes, less really is more when it comes to cars. Stick with the simple stuff, and you'll save yourself a lot of stress.
Most of my coworkers have Teslas and Autis and other such super nice cars. I have a Chevy crossover that had been previously leased by someone else for 2 years and then returned to the dealer. I saved all the money I would have spent on similarly nice sexy new cars, and now I'm looking for a home to buy, likely a small fixer-upper that I can renovate over time. Zero regrets.
It's interesting how priorities change. While everyone else is focused on flashy cars, you chose to save money for a home. It feels like a smart move, especially since owning a place can build long-term stability. Fixer-uppers have their challenges, but tackling renovations can be rewarding. Your coworkers might have their luxury cars, but in the end, investing in a home seems like a more solid plan. No regrets is the way to go.
Same. I made an exception with my most recent car because I was in a job where I got reimbursed mileage. I put $100K on it in my time with that company, so they paid me $60K for a $30K car. It now has $160K on it in a little over 6 years. But generally, my cars are about 10 to 15 years old and 150 to 200K miles when I sell them. That said, I'm considering trading it for something bigger, since we have another kid on the way, and we will be outgrowing my current car, but I'm actually looking at a slightly older car with a less miles on it.
I get that. When I had my last job, I ended up racking up miles too. I drove an older car with high mileage but got paid pretty well for it. Now, I just keep cars until they're done. With a growing family, it's smart to think bigger. I'm sure you'll find a solid ride that fits everyone's needs. Just gotta balance practicality with comfort.
I've been so unlucky the last 8 years and basically had my phones die every 2 to 3 years. One was the charging board, the other was the screen crapping out, another was the main board. I never drop my phones or get water on them, but unfortunately take them in a lot of rough environments due to hobbies, and they just tend to not do well. Previously, I had phones for 5 to 6 years.
Sounds frustrating. It's weird how tech can be so reliable for years and then just start failing on you. I had a similar experience with my last phone. I didn't drop it either, but over time, it just gave up. Guess some devices just can't handle the wear and tear of daily life. Hopefully, your next phone lasts longer and handles your hobbies better.
I came here to say this. I have a buddy who drives a tractor trailer, and I couldn't understand how he's always broke all the time. Then I see him with a brand new phone every year. Can't afford to pay his car insurance semi-annually or get his bearings fixed on the family car, because buying a new phone is more important, I guess.
It's interesting how priorities shape our choices. Your friend's situation shows that some people might value status over stability. He probably thinks having the latest phone keeps him connected or gives a certain image. But neglecting essentials like insurance can lead to bigger problems down the line. It's a reminder that sometimes, what we think is important might not be the best choice in the long run.
A kid in my neighborhood had pretty much every minute of every day booked, and if something canceled, you could be sure his mother found something to replace it with. Other than scheduled free time, or the rare times his mother didn't backfill an empty time slot with something, he didn't have much of a childhood at all.
That sounds tough for the kid. He probably missed out on just being a kid, you know? No time to just explore or hang out with friends. It's kind of sad when parents have such big plans for their kids but forget about the little moments that matter. Hope he gets a chance to catch up on all the fun he missed later on.
I taught music lessons to a kid like that. I was one of like 5 instruments he was in lessons for. And he also was on swim team, language club, karate, etc., etc. Parents, no wonder he sucked ass at all 5 instruments. The only time he had to play them was in his lessons. I asked him one day how often he played with kids in his neighborhood. Oh, a lot. At least once a month. Crying face.
It's tough when kids are overloaded with activities. I had a friend like that who was in every club possible. He was decent at a few things but never really great at any. It's a shame, too, because he missed out on just hanging out and enjoying music for fun. Balancing interests is important, or you end up not fully enjoying any of them. It's about quality, not quantity.
Yes. I always seem to find myself in groups of women that compete with each other on how busy their kid is, how smart they are, blah blah. When they get to me, I always say my kid is happy and not in anything right now. She played volleyball for a few years and decided not to play this year. And everyone looks so sad for me. If my daughter wanted to be in volleyball, I would gladly do all the things, but I'm also not mad that I have my evenings back.
It's interesting how some people measure success with kids. I get that vibe too sometimes. It's refreshing to just prioritize happiness instead of busyness. My friend had a similar experience. People would say how many activities their kids were in, while he just wanted to create a chill space for his kids. At the end of the day, enjoying life seems more important than keeping up with the competition.
Oh, I feel this so much. My sibling is on that hamster wheel, and I can see how it affects my oldest nephew. Wife and I, took him 11 years old and his brother, 8 years old, to an indoor water park because they finally had an unscheduled weekend. Now we live a good distance from my sibling, so it's difficult to get together. And personally, my sibling's lifestyle is very superficial and materialistic to me, so we don't have a lot in common. Sorry, got sidetracked. Anyways, we spent the weekend there. The cousins are having a great time. My oldest nephew says, "Thanks for taking us here, Uncle #%." Mom always keeps us in camps or sports. We never get to relax. An 11-year-old kid spitting truth like an adult. My heart sank for him. Kid has no childhood.
It's tough when you see a kid so young feeling the pressure like that. Taking them to the water park sounds like a good break from all the scheduled stuff. Kids should get to just enjoy being kids, not always be on the go. That moment when he expressed himself was really real. It's sad when they have to grow up too fast. Just hope they get more chances to relax and have fun.
I'm reading The Anxious Generation, and it's making a pretty good case that this is the objectively superior parenting method. It seems pretty developmentally important for kids to play, especially play that is not structured by adults. I think a lot of parents overparent, thinking that more input must be better. But it turns out that no, oftentimes, less is more.
I've seen this in my friends' parenting style. They let their kids just roam and play outside, with minimal adult guidance. At first, I thought it was a bit neglectful, but over time, I noticed those kids were more creative and independent. They figure things out on their own, which seems healthier. It's interesting how less structure can sometimes lead to better growth and learning in kids.
My boss's boss was explaining how he raised his kids, making sure he didn't put too much pressure on them, etc. So I asked what his kids are up to now. Well, it turns out that both kind of do nothing, which is fine if your dad is rich. But for most people, it's not. Meanwhile, my cousin pushed his kids to the max. They're just killing it professionally now. Their mental state is not known, unfortunately.
It's interesting how parenting styles can lead to such different outcomes. The pressure some kids feel can be intense, while others might enjoy more freedom. It's clear there's no one-size-fits-all approach. You wonder how much the kids' well-being matters compared to their success. Sometimes it seems like the focus on achievement can overshadow other important aspects of life, like happiness. At the end of the day, every family has its own way of handling things.
I guess it is one way to watch your child like a hawk and keep them off drugs if you schedule their lives for them, but also you have to let them be their own person. The only thing I wish my parents did was help me get into college and pay a little more attention to my grades. I was smart but didn't do well. No one really sat down and explained what not getting good grades looks like. If I wanted to go into a trade or something that didn't require school, maybe it would have been okay, but instead my friends all went to top schools, and I went to a no-name public school where the only companies that came to the career fair were insurance agents and finance advisors. I needed someone to explain you aren't getting a good job if you don't do good in high school. I got there 10 years after college, but we are also hiring 24-year-olds from the good college. All my friends went to for six-figure salaries while I tried to work my ass off for a fraction of that until I finally got lucky.
It sounds like you went through a lot when it came to education and career expectations. A lot of people don't realize how important those early years are until it's too late. I can relate to feeling lost while friends seem to have it all figured out. It's tough when support isn't there, but finally finding your path after all that effort must feel rewarding, even if it took longer than expected.
I really wish my mother's mindset was like you during my childhood and teenage years. If you are always on go, 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 you crush after a certain amount of time. I was an overachiever, overscheduled child. Even what I had no interest in doing, my mother would put me to do that. Not a single hour for myself. Go, go, go. Then I crushed. So hard, so badly. I didn't want to do anything. It made you lose your confidence too. The girl who was so good at everything, losing everything. Dark period of my life. But now I am becoming a person again whom I like. I like to stay productive. Thanks, universe, I am seeing light again. You were a good mother to your children.
It's tough when you're pushed too hard, especially as a kid. I can relate to being overbooked and feeling like there's no space to breathe. It's almost like losing yourself along the way. The pressure can really take a toll on your confidence. But finding your way back and enjoying being productive again? That's solid. It's all about balance, and it's good to hear you're getting there.
A majority of my house decorations are sentimental. For instance, my grandmother is a toll painter, so I have a lot of wooden hand-painted Christmas decorations and enjoy putting them on my walls each year. I'm not about to make my house throw up holidays with cheap plastic junk every month though.
I get that. Sentimental decorations really add character to a home. It's nice to have pieces that hold memories, like those hand-painted ornaments. They make the place feel warm and personal. Plus, going for quality over quantity is a good move. It's about what feels right for you, not just keeping up with trends.
Clothes are definitely it for me. Like, I'm not walking around in ratty, torn up stuff, but I'm also absolutely not buying new clothes to match trends. I just stick to the same stuff and match as I go. I usually go shopping once a year and buy about 5 to 7 short/slash pants and 5 to 7 shirts. Most of the ones from the previous 2 years are still in great shape. So I have 20 or so shirts and short/slash pants. Hoodies last for years on end, so I buy one a year or so. Buying one thing at a time all the time is ridiculous.
I get that. I keep it simple too. I wear what feels good and lasts. No need to chase trends or fill the closet with stuff I won't wear. I go for quality. Shopping once a year makes sense. It saves money and time. Besides, I have a few favorites I keep coming back to. It just works. Stick with what you like, and you'll be fine.
In GL, I totally buy fast fashion, but I also sew, and usually I go over the hems and such again, and I can make small alters to better fit me. Sewing from scratch is nice, but too pricey, so this has been a happy in-between for me, and most of even the shitty clothes I buy last year's once I reinforce all of the seams. Worst case is I can always do a darner stitch patch and patch things up as they fall apart. Unless something gets a really odd hole I can't fix easily, then I've had no issues. If I do have issues, I get scrap fabric for whatever else I want anyway.
That's a pretty practical approach. Fast fashion gets a bad rap, but it sounds like you make it work for you. Reinforcing seams and doing your own alterations is a solid way to extend the life of your clothes. Plus, being able to patch things up means you're not wasting materials. It's cool that you can blend buying with your sewing skills. Sounds like a nice balance to me.
I got my girlfriend one for Christmas. It was only like $30 or so, and she uses it literally every day to put cold drinks in, and it keeps it cold all fucking day. Although I just told my GF this thread, and she said some people collect them and have a whole shelf full of them. Maybe you meant that, haha.
Sounds like a solid gift. Those things are really practical for keeping drinks cold. It's funny how some people take it to the next level and collect them. I guess everyone has their own little quirks. Glad to hear your girlfriend loves it though. Makes gift giving feel worth it when they actually use it.
I have a Zojirushi, and I'll never get rid of it. One-handed carry, button push flip top with a locking feature. Has an adjustable handle that I can put a carabiner through or snap it out of the way without it banging around. Keeps ice for longer than 24 hours. And has an awesome spout that keeps the ice slivers from choking me. I also love that I don't have to put my lips directly on it for a nice, controlled pour. Best $25 purchase ever.
That's a solid investment. Sometimes the simplest things make a big difference. I had a similar experience with a basic water bottle. It's just so practical when it fits your lifestyle. I can take it anywhere without worrying about leaks or spills. It's good to have reliable gear that makes daily life easier, you know? That Zojirushi sounds like it checks all the boxes.
I was with you until the decision was made for me. I was given a black one at work as a gift. My wife, who never showed any interest in them before, immediately got jealous, but wouldn't accept mine as I just didn't care for it. It wasn't the right color, so I had to purchase her one after all. Then one day I walked through Academy and my kids saw the mini Stanleys on sale. Long story short, we all have one now.
That's kind of funny how things work out. You get a gift, and suddenly it turns into a family collection. It's interesting how something as simple as a color can create a bit of tension. Now, it seems like everyone's on board with their own Stanley. Must be nice to have that matching vibe. Sometimes the things we don't care about can end up being a whole family thing.
I hate that people, and it sounds like you're in agreement, are still on about this idea that we're somehow old once we hit 30. Me personally, I'd always looked 30 and finally grew into my looks at that age like a swan from an ugly duck. Well, probably more like a proud bear from a fugly wolverine. That aside, I say it's insulting to the betterment of the world when there seem, now, to be so few, that we don't recognize how much better we're able to look and take care of ourselves. Medical science alone is making sure 30 is still young. Anyone who thinks 30 is old is living an unhealthy life, in a broad scope of definition, that is probably going to make that idea true for themselves.
I get where you're coming from. Society has this weird idea that aging hits hard at 30. But honestly, it's just a number. Like you said, with medical advancements and better self-care, people can look and feel good well into their 30s and beyond. It's all about mindset. If you think 30 is old, you might be shortchanging yourself. Life's still in full swing, no matter your age.
Same. The stuff I have is good, and I replace stuff as it breaks. I could afford to get way more expensive furniture, phone, TV, etc., but there's no point. The extra inches on a TV won't be worth the hassle of replacing my current big enough TV for me. My phone works well, and it's annoying setting up a new one. The only thing I splurge on is my PC. I'd rather pay off my apartment and set up retirement and travel.
I get it. It's about balance, really. I know a guy who bought a decent couch and TV, but he put most of his money in savings. He likes investing in experiences, like traveling instead of fancy stuff. Like, he says a good trip is worth way more than the latest gadgets. Plus, setting up a new phone is always a pain. Focus on what actually matters, makes sense.
I understand that, but TBH, for $20 for an Alexa to be able to walk into your room and go, turn bedroom lights onto blue 50%, and have a timer for them to automatically turn off at 2 a.m. every night in case you fall asleep with them on. It'll turn them off for you. And to be able to say play X song by X band or play 90s music, and it just does it. Along with lots of other stuff. Mostly we use it for lights, which is actually pretty nice for $20 to be able to control and automate all my home shit. It definitely is a lot easier / more convenient than flipping a switch on the wall and can do a lot more. Do you need it? No, but I personally think it's totally worth $20 or $30 for one. Obviously, everyone has different opinions.
It's pretty interesting how tech can make life easier. I remember when a friend got one of these smart speakers. At first, they were skeptical about it being useful. But after a few weeks, they were hooked. They loved controlling the lights and playing music just with their voice. Sure, it's not essential, but having that convenience made their routine a bit smoother. In the end, sometimes it's just nice to have those little things.
I got a new car in July, and it was cheaper than all the used cars I looked at. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, went to them all over the course of a week. Couldn't get a good used car below $30K. The only one in my price range had 80K miles on it. Got a 2025 Mini Cooper for $26K. If new cars are just as much as used cars, may as well buy new.
That's interesting. Seems like a smart move. It's wild how prices have shifted. You'd think used cars would be cheaper, but it sounds like you found a good deal. The Mini Cooper is a fun choice, too. New cars can come with fewer worries, I guess. Makes sense to go with something reliable and fresh rather than stress over an older one. Hope you enjoy driving it.
Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.